guys, this is Tim Wright. I'm a tenant rep broker at Cushman & Wakefield, and I'm going to try to answer a question I get a lot. What is going on in these office buildings around town? Now, this is specific to my market. This is Atlanta, Georgia. And first and foremost, I don't represent any of these buildings. I'm a tenant rep and I work with companies on finding the right space for their team. So what's going on with these buildings? First off, there's buildings that are really struggling and they don't have any leasing. They haven't had any, and banks are getting really nervous about if they're going to take on this building back on their books. But I want to focus on are three areas that are crushing it in Atlanta. And these three are seeing more leasing, more activity than anywhere else. That's Colony Square in Midtown, Buckhead Plaza, right in the middle of Buckhead, and then where we're at right now at the Galleria next to Truist Park. I'd say the reason why is there's just activity. There's people there that are showing up every day. You can feel that there's presence, there's people walking around going to lunch. If you go to Colony Square Tuesday at lunch, I mean, there's probably 30 or 40 people at the corner just waiting to get across and get some Chick-fil-A. Buckhead Plaza is really similar. You'll see some friends out in the lobby. And then here at the Galleria, I mean, there's probably about 100 people that have been here since we've been filming. All right, so here we are. We're at the Galleria. I'm standing right in front of the 300 building. I'm gonna try to explain, why is the Galleria so attractive to people? You see it on the highway, you're going down 75 or 285. The most attractive part about this is, there's Truist Park right across the highway. If you've got that access, you have great access to the highways. You have Costco down the street, it's pretty awesome. And you also have an owner that's super active. They've been doing some great build outs, spec suites, all that, and they're doing a lot to this courtyard to make it just feel like there's energy. And I think that's kind of gets to the heart of why people are going back to the office in certain places as opposed to others. They want to be around energy. They're tired of being at home and just, if I'm going to be, going into an office, I want to be around other people where there's other ideas, I can make connections, and that's what's happening here at the Galleria. We're at the Battery now. We're going to take a little air tour here. So there's kind of two things to point out that's happening right now. Obviously the Battery's been a huge success. But you see next to us there is this new project that's going on. It's a bunch of condos, and there's just this old office building that had kind of sat there, and it was kind of tired, and they decided to knock it down and turn it into a pretty cool new development. On the other side, so Truist, they decided to move their securities group and did about a 250,000 square foot office lease at one of these new build-to-suits. So that's on the other side of the Battery. Yeah, obviously everything else has been doing pretty good. Retail, got the elevator group, TKE that moved in. We're here at Buckhead Plaza. I call it the Country Club building. And why do I call it that? There's probably about 70 tenants in this building. For that same size of a building, there's usually about 20 to 30. The tenants in here are a lot of family offices, a lot of wealth managers, and anytime we tour here, our clients usually see friends and they say hey, and there's just a lot of energy. So it's kind of like when you go to the country club, you see people that you're friends with, want to run into, and that's kind of the energy of this. How that's resulted in the activity here, this building is almost 98% leased, which is nuts. And on top of that, the rates have gone from a little under $40 a foot to well over 50 and just continue to rise because of the demand here. So that's it. Buckhead Plaza is awesome. It's a beautiful building. They've done a great job renovating this whole courtyard here. There's some new food and beverage. It's just a great spot to be. So again, I don't represent it, but this is your commercial for it. It's a great spot if you want good energy. There's two office buildings I want to point out here. This is the one Buckhead Plaza is the taller one that's blue, and then the shorter one is Buckhead, 2 Buckhead Plaza. Most notably, they redid all the courtyard and stuff about a year or two ago. Really opens it up a lot more, put a lot of turf. On the corner here, you can see this was the King and Duke restaurant. They ended up not renewing their lease, and so they have Del Bar coming in, which is pretty popular. It's a Middle Eastern cuisine. Yeah, I think that's most notable. There's a ton of these sites all around Buckhead Plaza that have been proposed for new residential towers. Like there's a deck over behind Restoration Hardware and a couple of these others. But right now, it's all proposed. And with the interest environment that we're in, they're having a hard time getting the money to start breaking ground and building up new development. So It's kind of your hot take on what's going on at Buckhead Plaza. We are at the final location of this series. We're at Colony Square. We're at 14th and Peachtree, which is kind of the epicenter of the Midtown submarket. To my right, this is Colony Square. It was built in 1979, one of the first mixed-use developments in the Southeast. 50 years later, it got redeveloped and repositioned. It got delivered right before COVID, and there's a whole new food hall. There's a ton of new amenities around here, and that's resulted in kind of this wave of leasing that's happened. So the 1180 building next to me, this is pretty much full. King & Spalding's the main tenant here. There's two other buildings that you can't see, but we're gonna show on the drone a little later. This is Promenade Central and then Promenade Tower. Deloitte just moved in, and so did Visa, and they've had a slew of a bunch of other tenants that have moved in. Both of these buildings have had huge renovations. Again, the caveat, I don't represent these, but I'm just telling you why people have moved here. So how that has just continued to snowball is there's people here, there's activity, tons of food, and it's just become a place that people have gravitated towards. If you go a block in any of these directions, people have a harder time really stomaching moving into those buildings, and they want to be right at Main and Main. And case in point, there's 14th and Spring down the street. This building has sat there for a couple years. It's a beautiful building, but just hasn't been able to get anybody in. That's kind of your hot take on Colony Square. It's going to continue to be a great spot. These buildings are, leasing up. People are moving in. It's a great spot. So both this tall building here on the left has darker windows, and then it's mid-rise. These are Promenade Central and Promenade Tower. Visa just moved in, Deloitte just moved in. They both had this huge renovation that happened. And ever since that delivered, they've just been attracting tenants left and right. I could probably talk about this couple blocks for 15 minutes. But essentially, we're trying to answer the question, why are people here? In short, it's a super dense area, and there's just a lot of good leasing momentum that's happened here. There's a lot of new renovations that are going on. Colony Square, as I mentioned earlier, their repositioning has just been a real success. You go there any day, Tuesday at lunch, Monday at lunch, there's just probably 100 people at the crosswalk just going over grabbing some food. There's two big eyesores that are over here. There's Dewberry's Campanile Revive that's kind of been under construction for, gosh, I don't know how many years. And then the other one is this big plot that was supposed to be one of the tallest towers, was originally called Opus 2, and that just went into a big lawsuit. But from what I've been told, has recently been settled, and hopefully we'll see some news about it.